Good morning once again, and you are still watching Sunrise at Sea here on CTV. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. Well, we are, and all we do here is to bring to you, amazing things on CTV, information, entertainment as well. Well, today is the 26th of April, 2022. We are coming to the close of this month. I'm very excited about it. Siobhan and Sarah had mentioned about how they're excited as well. Welcome to our views, and this is a segment where we talk about real-life conversations, discussing, deliberating, and talking about the things that happen in our everyday lives. My name is Agi Owase, and joining me at the center of this discussion or conversation to my far right, that is Sarah Apollo, and seated right next to me is Siobhan Alma. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
You look good.
Thank you.
I think I've said it over and over again. Okay. Anyway, today we are discussing the repercussions of reckless driving and the penalties that come with that. And this conversation has been triggered by the fact that the Tennessee State Senate unanimously voted to pass a bill which would be known as the Bentley Law, if you didn't know about that, and would require drunk drivers to pay child support if they kill a minor's parent in a drunk driving accident. Now, this bill cites several reasons why the payments to the child would be necessary, and that includes maintaining the child's standard of living, the financial resources and needs for the child, as well as the financial needs of the surviving parent or guardian. And also the bill, if passed into law, because it hasn't yet been passed into law, would be an honor of a grandmother whose son was killed in a drunk driving accident along with his fiancée, a 4-month-old child, in 2021. The accident, according to the news, is that it orphaned two kids, a 5-year-old called Bentley and 3-year-old called Mason, and that's the reason why they are calling it the Bentley bill. And the other thing is the bill leaves it to court to determine the appropriate amount of money convicted drunk drivers would have to pay, while taking into account the financial needs and resources of the child, the resources and needs of the child's surviving parent, like I mentioned earlier, and then drivers who are incarcerated and unable to make payments have up to 1 year after their release to begin payment. Also, the bill also states that if the child's surviving parent or guardian sues the defendant and obtains a judgment before the sentencing in court, no child support payments will be ordered. And anyway, if we are to bring it back into our country, Uganda, we have seen so many issues in the media, in the news about reckless driving, and definitely the results that have come from that. And to give you a little bit of statistics, according to the latest World Health Organization data published in 2018, road traffic accident deaths in Uganda reached 11,730, or you can call it 4.52% of total deaths. Now, the age-adjusted death rate is 40.17 per 100,000 of the population ranks in Uganda, which also ranks it 15 in the world. So we see that it's not only happening in the US, not only happening in Tennessee, but in Uganda as well as other countries in Africa and in Europe as well. So my question today, as we deliberate on this matter, is: should culprits pay child support in case parents are badly injured or killed in the event of? Ladies.
Absolutely. Yes, I like the fact that Tennessee is actually thinking of, going down that road. I think, in my perspective, I do believe that people who are involved in reckless driving, especially if you kill a minor's parent, then you should definitely be liable to pay child support. Why are you driving recklessly? I mean, if you're going to be the reason as to why a child wakes up in the morning and they have no mother or father to support them, then you should definitely be a part of this. I remember there was an amendment, and this was actually, government was proposing an amendment in the Traffic and Road Safety Act, that is of 1998, and they were saying that instead of actually fining these people who are recklessly driving, instead they should actually go ahead, it says that to include a clause sanctioning automatic jail sentence if you are convicted for reckless driving and causing either bodily damage or even death to someone. However, those days, before that, the fine was if you were found and if you're convicted to having been found driving recklessly and causing image or death to someone here in Uganda, you'd be faced with a fine. So yeah, definitely. I mean, that is something in Uganda that we should also take up. Absolutely.
Yes.
I agree.
I hope it happens anytime soon. Sarah, how about you? What do you think of this?
It's not sustainable. I don't think it is.
Why is that?
In the United States, about 49% of custodial parents receive child support in full. And I think it's a good idea, but I think sometimes when legislatures put certain laws into place, they're trying to win the hearts and votes of people, because the governor that put this on table is seeking for another term in Congress, right?
Yes.
You get me?
Yes.
So, and it's also trying to appeal to the hearts of people, because the person who was knocked down was a police officer.
Yes.
You get me? So he's trying to maybe what's the word? I don't want to say the word, the phrase that I want to say. He's trying to kiss up to people so that they look at him and think that he's actually doing something. But I don't. Why I say that it is not sustainable? Because it's a good idea, but I think it should be case by case scenario. What if in the case the victim is does not even know that they have children or has never paid child support? So you're going to get a perpetrator, a person who may have, done the crime, unintentionally, or I don't know, something could have happened. Accidents happen for different reasons.
Yes.
You get me? Could be a drunk driver, it could be the road is bad, could be the weather is bad, could be somebody just jumped into the road. Do you understand? Or what if the victim has never paid child support for their children? So do you still pay child support for somebody who hasn't been doing that? Do you understand?
Yes.
There's so many loopholes in it that it needs to be properly thought out so that it can actually stand, because someone, if you have a good lawyer, can argue out of this case. Do you understand what I mean? So for me, it's a good idea, but I don't think when it comes to implementation, it is going to work.
In Tennessee, you think it wouldn't work in Tennessee?
I don't think it wouldn't work
here?
properly in Tennessee, and I don't think it can't work here in Uganda either, because what are the statistics of people who pay child support for their children?
Maybe in Uganda. I think the chances that it would actually work in Tennessee, because we've seen, their laws and everything, especially in the Western world, really does work out if they put their mind and soul to it. And like in this country.
But you see, let me finish here. The lady the drunk driver who hit the police officer, her name is Janet Hinds, right?
Yeah.
And she was sentenced to 11 years in prison. So they're tabling this proposal, which gives the person upon conviction who has been convicted of the crime at least 1 year before you start paying child support.
If you are incarcerated.
If you're incarcerated,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, if you're incarcerated, how are you going to pay this child support? You're in jail. Do you get me? Number two, you know how difficult it is for a convict to actually get work when they get out of jail. So how are they going to be able to make child support? Number two, they said that also here that child support will be paid until the child turns 18 and has graduated from high school.
Yes.
What if the child decides to drop out of high school and doesn't want to study? Then again,
give them their cash.
then again, you understand?
Yes.
For me, it doesn't stand, it doesn't hold water, because at the end of the day, you are not helping anybody. You're just going to take this family or all these parties who are involved in the situation through prolonged suffering. And yet there are other ways that it could be mitigated and handled properly. In the amendment of the Traffic and Road Safety Act of Uganda, that is of 1998, it was amended in 2020. The Amendment Act says a person who causes the death of any person by reckless driving of a motor vehicle, trailer or engineering plant commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment not exceeding 10 years. That is between 5 and 10 years. It also goes on to say a person who causes bodily injury to a person by reckless driving of a motor vehicle, trailer or engineering plant commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 100 currency points, that's 100K, or imprisonment not exceeding 3 years of both. And then it goes on to say, I'm going to skip through the rest, but I want to read this clause here that is, I feel, is very important. It goes on to say, the court which convicts the person under subsection 1 and 2 that I just read may award to any person injured as a result of the offense, or to the dependent of any person whose death arises out of the commission of the offense, compensation not exceeding 50% of any fine paid or that would be paid under the act by the person convicted in respect of the offense. I feel just give them a lump sum and go on with your life. But if you're going to hold this person, the perpetrator, the person who committed the crime, to pay child support, what if they are just somebody who has failed to, you know, make it in life, and they're not able to, you know, pick up these resources to pay child support for your child? It doesn't help. They'll go back to jail and you still won't have child support, and it will still be a hopeless situation for both situations. So for me, it doesn't stand. It's a good idea, but it doesn't stand.
But every law or every other, you know, every law that is put into place usually starts from a good idea. I have been seeing the reactions on social media and how it's been, you know, this bill has been received on social media, and everyone seems to be up for it. Yes. Saying, you know what, this, yes, because even if the bill, even if it doesn't pass into law, even if it doesn't become a law, at the end of the day, I feel like if it's put into place, there is how it will curb down, you know, reckless driving. When you know at the end of the day you have to pay child support, then you will be careful on the road.
That does make sense. That does make sense to an extent. However, the thing about laws, and I'll give an instance for like a case like Uganda or say Tennessee, why do we wait for certain situations to escalate before we bring these laws into perspective? But also, are we setting a law because something has happened? Or are we setting a law like what Sarah highlighted to please someone? Or are we setting a law because we want this law and for the public to view us in a kind eye? At the end of the day, ask your question, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I setting this law? But again, in some countries, this particular bill may work. In a country like Uganda, you may find it will never work. I mean, let's take a look at on a base how many people are caught doing reckless driving here in Uganda. It is mostly the youth. How many youth can afford or even pay child support, for example? So again, it varies from country to country. In country like in the Philippines, I was actually reading, and it's something that is able to be adaptable and also, again, it varies from country to country. But when it comes to the issue of, you know, when you're found reckless driving and then you should pay child support, like Sarah said, I think it could also go case by case. But again, it may work in some countries. In third world countries, where everyone is survival for the fittest, it might just not work.
I don't think this is going to curb on reckless driving. I really don't. I don't think it is.
I don't even think
it's just like saying because you put a capital, if you put capital punishment on murder, people are going to stop killing. Globally, 464,000 murders are committed per day. Per day. Each country around the world has their capital offenses, and they give the maximum, you know, penalty to it. Could be death, could be life imprisonment, whatever the case may be. But people still go on to kill people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And that is where road accidents also come in. I don't think it's going to stop.
But I think still the law has to be into place. Because at the end of the day, everyone will be, you know.
That is true, but let us not put laws in place just to decorate the Constitution. You get, and fill up pages that are not going to actually be implemented. One thing that needs to be done is, what would work a lot more is sensitization, in my point. Don't drink and drive. All these campaigns need to be in everybody's face. Don't drink and drive. Because at the end of the day, it is not just the victim who you're going to hurt. You could hurt yourself.
As well,
you could be the one who, you know, dies in the process and not the other person. Do you understand what I mean? So you're putting yourself in danger. People need to understand you're putting yourself in danger as well. So sensitization needs to come in place. There should be more cameras on the road. There should be more traffic officers on the road.
And
like things like that. Yes, less. The roads have.
We'll get
the roads
to that.
have
We'll
to
get
be,
to that question.
The roads
What
need
you
to be
and KCCA have to do.
And they need to put lights.
And here in Uganda, the Uganda police did say that the biggest cause of road accidents is human error. So people are not checking their cars. Just last week, I had a chat with the commissioner of Inspectorate of Vehicles. he was here, and you say it's human error. People don't check their cars, people don't service their cars, people drink and drive, people text and drive, people are not listening to the road, people are not reading road signs, people, and also pedestrians are walking some of them are walking in the middle of the road, some of them are carelessly crossing the road. It is not your right.
We'll get to that and what UNRWA as well as KCCA have to do in this regard. But before we get there, I'd like to get, if you are living in Uganda, these are some of the repercussions or the penalties that you will pay if you're caught, reckless driving. Number one is when you are caught speeding. Now, every section of the road has a particular speed limit that should be observed by all drivers. For instance, according to Kampala Capital City Authority, all roads within the city center should not exceed 30 kilometers per hour, while roads that connect to highways have speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. Highways have a speed limit ranging between 50 and 100 kilometers per hour, according to the Traffic and Road Safety Regulations, and that is of 2004. Road sections on highways that are considered black spots, if you know what black spots are, have a speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour, while those that are less dangerous have a limit of 80 and 100 kilometers per hour. In other words, Uganda has a minimum speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour and a maximum of 100 kilometers per hour. Now, failure to observe the limits exposes a driver to a penalty, and that is between 300,000 Uganda shillings and 1.2 million Uganda shillings, and or imprisonment of between 6 months and 2 years. That is a very short time. I think this is something that should be revised.
When
300,000.
Speeding?
Yes, 300,000 to 1.2 million shillings.
Is it?
That is yes. I feel like it should be revised. Anyway, the other one is driving a vehicle that's under dangerous mechanical condition, and this is punishable under the Traffic and Road Safety Regulations, and this is one traffic regulation that is grossly abused, and many vehicles currently on Ugandan roads are in poor mechanical condition. The other day when we're having that conversation on road safety, we talked about you should take it up as an individual social responsibility. Take care of your car, make sure it's in good mechanical condition before you get on the road.
But stop buying old cars. But
no, there are old cars that are actually in good mechanical condition.
Yes, they are, but it's not always the case. In most cases, cars that have stayed for long on the road will not perform as the new ones. So yeah, definitely.
And the repercussion for that again is 300,000 to 1.2 million Uganda shillings. The other one that is actually very, very, very important is driving under the influence. Now, traffic police has been vigilant in the fight against drunk driving, and a number of people have fallen victim. If you're always on the road in the night, people who go out to hang out in the night, you know exactly what I'm talking about, except that some of our traffic officers are very incompetent. They take
exactly.
Bribes.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why when you said that all the fine is from 300,000 to this, I was like, when you have a katwalo in your handbag. Anyway, it's horrible. and the police was ranked the top corrupt institution in Uganda, and that was by the Inspectorate of Government. Also, the IGG and the Uganda Bureau of Standards also shared reports to show that the police is the most corrupt institution in the country, and that is as of February 26th, 2021.
So, in other words, we shouldn't be blaming even those who go behind the wheels. We should
it's everybody.
It is everybody, exactly.
Yes.
But you see, at the beginning, we're sort of looking at it from a perspective of the driver, but you're forgetting that the road also may not be in proper condition. I mean, let's take a look at the roads here in Kampala. Some of them do not have street lights. The other time, we're having a conversation with Councillor Boneka, and we're saying, Temusirika, don't kusirika. Please put lights on the Entebbe Express Highway, and put lights on the northern bypass. Put reflectors, put speed bumps if you must. But also, can people read road and safety signs on the road?
Yes, and also clean your headlamps, clean your lights too, so that you can see
the repercussion for driving under the influence is still 300,000 to 1.2 million shillings. I feel like I said earlier, that is very little money, but we also talked about the fact that our police is corrupt, and people know that I don't have to pay my 300k.
It is little money, but let's
my
not
20
forget
or
that there's
10,000.
inflation.
But
anyway,
like in all seriousness, it comes down to everybody's social responsibility. It's the police, it is you as a driver, because you put yourself in danger. And also just think about the post-traumatic stress that you would have to deal with after you know that because of your recklessness, you actually caused somebody to lose their life. So like put that into consideration. Like wherever you are going, that place will not go away. You just take your time, you know, do not procrastinate. People who leave the house in a hurry and you're just, you know, speeding through as if you're a Formula One driver. You know, leave early, do not procrastinate. Leave early,
this goes
get there
for
on
Subaru
time.
and Mark X drivers.
Making noise for us.
Yes, and they're always very fast on the road.
Today,
Like they're always in a rush.
On top of
Like
that,
it's a competition of
noise
sorts.
pollution. There's air pollution.
Then they are also reckless on the road. But also, while we are looking at, you know, the drivers and, you know, the Subarus and the Mark X and whatever it is that we're talking about, can we also look at the fact that at the end of the day, like Sarah has highlighted, if you're the reason, first of all, will you be able to live with yourself? But also think about yourself. Like, if you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're a sister, what would your family say if they heard that you died in an accident because you were driving recklessly? And why would you drink and drive? I don't understand. Is it because drink starts with a D and drive starts with a D? That two never go in hand, but somehow, several times, we have fallen culprits of drinking and driving.
Yes.
All the time.
True.
Every
I
single
think
time.
mostly people, there's certain people that I've talked to and they talk about insecurity. They do not want to park there because I always talk about if you feel that you're intoxicated and you cannot drive, you can park your car, get an Uber. If you can get a boda in the night and you feel it's safe, do get that, because what is the point of drinking while you are drunk or intoxicated and you actually do not get to your destination at the end of the day?
Or just sleep at the bar.
Yes, if you can do that.
Might as well sleep there.
But you know who we are leaving out of these equations? The pedestrians. Sometimes it is the pedestrians' error. You see it is a green light, but you want to cross. What are you doing?
But there are some roads that do not have the pedestrian lights as well.
I understand that, but there are roads around the major routes in Kampala City that have traffic lights. You see it is a green light and you want to cross. Stop being reckless. And also it is important, like we were taught in school, look left, look right, look left, and cross. Even if it is a one-way street, it is still important to look left and right. Do not assume that because this is one-lane traffic, no one is going to be coming from the other side. A border guy may be coming from nowhere.
You see, while you put it on the side of pedestrians, yes, sometimes pedestrians are actually in the wrong, but I'll honestly give my experience. There are times when I get to like a zebra crossing, and I'm actually very afraid to cross because no one is respecting the zebra crossing, talking of every driver on the road from borders to trucks, and I just stand and wait until the road is clear, because at the end of the day, I might be doing the right thing and the other person is in the wrong and I fall victim.
But also the
you
people
have to
driving
on
these
all
cars.
ends, honestly, if you're the zebra crossing, respect it. Let people cross and then get
It's
on.
not even about a zebra crossing. How many roads have zebra crossings? I mean, let's look at the highways here in Uganda. How many times do pedestrians, I mean, you clearly see that someone needs to cross the road. Even when they are telling you to stop, because you're in a car and you think owning a car and being in the car is the, you know, the most influential thing, you cannot even slow down for a pedestrian to cross. Because not every road in Uganda, for example, has a zebra crossing.
But all
How about
major
we make
routes
courteous
do.
enough?
But do not cross from highways. That is, you're not.
But there are times when
you're not supposed to, like on the expressway.
Yes.
Whether on your route to Mukono side or on your route to Entebbe, you're not supposed. Those routes are not for pedestrian crossings. They're not zebra crossings because it is high-speed traffic, and they even go on to put like boundaries. But you'll see someone
jumping over.
What are you doing?
No, it's very funny.
What?
Too.
Stop it! You're there. This is the pavement, the pavement, the boundary, but somebody is. What are you
Jumping
doing?
over.
Stop!
Yes.
Stop it! You get?
Yeah, there isn't. Why people are reckless on the road?
The other thing
stop
is
it.
people who use unlicensed vehicles. At the end of the day, you're going to, you know, your penalty will be paying 200,000 to 600 Uganda shillings and driving without a permit as well. Now, I know so many Ugandans who are on the road without driving permits, but I do not know why our police officers actually, you know, let this happen. Because you get to a roadblock and you do not have a permit, and it's very easy to get away with it, just like committing any other crime on the road. It's very easy to get away with it. And these are probably drivers who are still maybe undergoing training, who are not yet sure of the road and not yet sure of every road sign and how to use them. And like, you are letting somebody move. At the end of the day, it's just common sense. I feel like it's common sense. It should be.
But you see, again, if you look at our economy, the biggest reason as to why we have corruption in many institutions in this country, or rather every sector in this country, is because of poverty. Poverty, hence corruption. Corruption, hence unfortunate things like this happen, where people in authority just overlook the criminals because they want to earn a few extra thousands or a few extra shillings. So it's just a dire situation. And like our motto of the country, what does it say?
Forgotten my country.
Thank you. It is what it is. But again, I guess at the end of the day, it just boils down to social responsibility. Be a responsible person. Make sure you have your driving permit. Make sure your car is in good condition to be on the road. Please follow traffic signs and, don't overspeed. I mean, if you're in a hurry if you have an important engagement, please leave on time so that you can get there on time. If you're a pedestrian, please be cautious of the road signs and road safety regulations as you are a pedestrian, because they are pavements that you're supposed to walk on. Practice self-preservation. There are some people that I have seen that I'm just going to walk into the road, he's going to stop. No, he may not stop. You get me?
And when you
so
lose your
practice
life,
self-preservation. It's a situation that we cannot even talk about and find a solution, at the end of the day. But it just comes down from poverty, from people not attaining the right information and knowledge. How many people go to driving schools? Driving schools are very expensive. It's a minimum of 400,000. How many Ugandans can afford 400,000 for driving school? Some people are going to let their fathers, mothers, boyfriends, girlfriends, brothers, sisters, teach them how to drive. I know how to drive.
And then those who are actually reluctant to go to driving schools because, I did talk to a certain individual. They told me, well, for me, I just want my boyfriend to teach me how to drive, because driving school attendants are very rude and I cannot manage. So
did you ever watch that skit by Anne Kansime when she got stopped by a traffic officer and they asked her for her driving permit when it was expired? And then she was like, because my driving permit expired means that now my skills have expired.
Does it mean that my driving skills have also expired?
It is like having a passport. If your passport expires, you cannot fly. You cannot travel. Same thing with the driving license now. You need to renew your license every year, it's now between every year, because now it has been changed. You can renew for a year, between 1 year to 5 years.
Yes.
And you can pay the lump sum. You can either renew every 1 year or every 2 or 3, 5 years, like that.
Yes, and talking about responsibility, you talked a lot about responsibility. Here's one thing: if you fail to report an accident, you'll also be penalized for that, and you'll be asked to pay between 100,000 to 600 Uganda shillings. And the reason is, if you find there is an accident or you're at an accident, because so many motorists, so many drivers on the road, I find there's an accident and you do not report it. And we cannot downplay the fact that our police and even our firefighters always, I don't know, our toll center line always takes long. Like every time you call through, they take about 15 minutes is a very short time. It could be even up to an hour. So as an individual, as a good citizen of this country, you should be able to get your phone and call. Take it upon yourself to be able to report in case there is an accident.
But you see, again, some of these laws, I mean, what if the person doesn't have airtime? What if the person doesn't have a phone? Do you understand?
Why are you always looking on the negative side of things?
Because you see, this is what somebody is going to argue when they're taken to court. But there's sina airtime.
Let's check your phone.
I do not know the toll. I do not know that.
I don't even know how to dial call me back.
I do not know the toll-free number. You understand? All these things need to be put into consideration. So who is the person? A bystander who sees the accident happen?
It could be a bystander. It could be a passers-by. Whether you're driving, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a motorist, you're obliged to do that.
Kati, listen, the person could say that, like, I was over here having a good day, minding my own
Oh,
business.
rush-headed
They were
somewhere.
over there handling their situation. So how is it my
My business
responsibility?
anymore.
Do you understand? Like, I'm not making fun of it, but I'm just saying these are some of the loopholes
Yeah.
in these clauses
Yeah.
that need to be, revised so that people can actually get on-scene assistance, right away.
Yes.
In the event that an accident happens, the traffic officers around, there's, I don't know, maybe an ambulance or whatever. Then now this is the thing. I wish like they would just keep on plastering, okay, not just because that's now littering, like just make this information available to people, sensitize people, so that let these toll-free numbers, be out there in the open so that people can know to call. You understand? At
Yes.
police stations, in case of an emergency, this is the number.
Yeah.
You understand? But people don't have this information.
They don't.
Okay, and in the recent past, drivers have attributed most road accidents to poor road designs and mental issues. Now highlight mental issues. And this comes from truck drivers, and they have urged the Uganda police to conduct regular mental tests for drivers in order to reduce road accidents. Now, at least 3,663 people were killed in road accidents in 2020, like I mentioned earlier. But you see now, truck drivers in particular, are attributing this to mental health issues, and they want police to chip in and always take mental health tests on the road while they are driving. Do you think that this is a thing, or it's true in any way that, mental health issues can actually cause you to be reckless on the road?
Definitely true. Having a mental disorder, first of all, means that it's not a crucifixion, but it means that you're not okay, that you need help, that you need to speak to someone. So I mean, if you're undergoing depression, if you have PTSD, if you've been in an accident before and you get behind the wheel, you'll definitely be anxious. But it's not only mental health, it's even bad weather. I mean, last week I was involved in a head-on collision. Why? Because the taxi I was in, the driver refused to stop. It was raining so heavily, there were hailstorms, he was not seeing, but he persisted to drive. So also I think, again, it goes back to what Sarah mentioned, social responsibility. It is heavily raining, you cannot see. Why don't you stop? Okay, fine, you need to be at work at 8, but you woke up at 8:30. Please calm down, you're not the most important person on the road. Let's move together. So again, it goes back to just being responsible as a person, being responsible for your life.
For truck drivers, there's also issues of fatigue and exhaustion, because some of them who drive, border to border, I mean, those routes are really long, and handling those big vehicles can be very tedious and hectic. So I think there just should be proper rest stops along the routes, because along major, trading centers or highways or fuel stations at the border, there should be proper rest stops, so that if, like a boarding house, like a, have maybe a small accommodation where they can rest for time to time, and then go back on the road. But some of them are required to drive, non-stop all the way.
Don't you think this is on the side of employers, if you're putting your driver or your employee on pressure to drive on the road when they are tired? You're talking about that. I mean, if you're tired, then you need to rest.
Absolutely, but it also goes down to labor laws of the country. It should be implemented so that when employees are faced with these harsh, or grueling hours of work, they can report to their labor organizations, and then, maybe penalties or warnings are placed on the employer. So it still also goes down to law, to what the Constitution says and the laws of the land on, labor.
Yes.
But also there's some organizations, when they send out, let's say if it's a trailer or a truck that they own, they put behind and say report in case of bad driving, or report in case they go
But do you know that
beyond
people
the
take,
speed
how many
limit.
times have you taken that number?
But if I have
You
not seen a
probably
reason as
haven't.
to why,
You see?
most times when I find those
Individual
trucks, they're not
social
overspeeding. No,
responsibility.
me, the ones that I have found are never overspeeding. So I've seen no reason to call the number. However, some organizations do that. Some even track. They're able to know that this driver is going beyond the speed limit, and they call and say, please reduce your speed. So these are
You
some
know,
of the
I had a-
incentives we can put into position.
I had a dumb moment one time. You know, the first time when I say that reporting case of bad driving. So I was behind this vehicle. It was, you know, the security, you know, those the what are they called? Those trucks that carry money.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, report who? Why? For what? You
For that
get
reason
it?
that they're-
It did-
they're
it
driving
did not
recklessly.
sink
It
in.
did
It
not.
did
Oh.
sink in for me.
Okay.
So I think like instructions also need to be very clear. So that
Yes.
people say, in case the driver of this vehicle is driving recklessly, report to
Please
this
report.
number.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I'm like, okay, bad driving. Who am I calling? The police? Who am I calling exactly? So for me, it did not register then at the time, the first time I saw it. But then it later made sense because I was so curious. Who are we reporting?
And why
Okay,
are we
And
reporting?
why are we reporting?
As we wrap up the conversation, we have talked about, you know, we have literally put drivers on the course for this, but it also comes down to the side of UNRWA, especially in this country, and KCCA as well, who haven't, you know, done their part to make sure that the roads are clear and are good for the drivers and the motorists as well. So as we wrap up the conversation, I'd like to ask you to give us, what do you think UNRWA or KCCA should do on their part? They definitely know what they should do, but maybe they need to be reminded. You know, sometimes our state institutions need to be reminded on what to do. What are those things that annoy you on the road that you know for sure are not problems or are not on the side of the driver or you as a driver, but on the side of
the
KCCA
entities
and
that are in
UNRWA?
charge.
Yes.
The first one is street lights. I mean, this is a conversation that we have had now and again. Different roads in Kampala, in Uganda, do not have street lights. That is very detrimental. We need to have street lights. Secondly, the people that are employed on the road, the ones who are supposed to regulate traffic and, you know, call you out when you've made a blunder or a mistake on the road, need to stand for that and stop following the line of bribes. Because I might give you a bribe and then move on, and then I cause an accident elsewhere. So you see, each person needs to be held accountable. Entities, UNRWA, KCCA need to be held accountable. Ministry of Works and Transport also needs to play, and all of them should follow their mandates.
Absolutely.
Simple.
Okay.
For me, it's number one, I want to give credit where it's due. I would love to thank KCCA and UNRWA for improving the road networks here in Kampala. All the major streets in the city, absolutely beautiful. I was driving around
Some of-
Nalia, you know, like the
Nalia,
Nalia, where the Nalia roundabout was and whatnot, as you're going up to Namgongo. Absolutely beautiful. The
Even
Entebbe
this road
extra
right
beautiful.
next to us,
Ntinda
yes.
Road, just
Yes.
absolutely gorgeous. Ginger Road, they are actively putting, even Kamocha, you know, the Kamocha
The stretch, yes,
absolutely
Kira,
beautiful, very smooth traffic. It's also managing the, you know, the traffic congestion around the roads. Absolutely great work, great work. But for me, it is, let us sensitize the masses on a proper road usage, in partnership, of course, with the police as well. Sensitize the people to not drink and drive, not text and drive. I mean, these things should be common sense, but it's not. Let's keep the campaigns going non-stop. Don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, do not cross, you know, even pedestrians need to learn how to read the road signs.
Yes.
It's not only just cars.
Yes.
I mean, people who drive, but pedestrians too. Learn to read the road signs. Please, let's have the toll-free numbers in case of an accident, ambulances, police, fire brigade, whatever the case may be. We need maximum sensitization. That is what we need.
Yes.
People need to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And while Sarah talks about people need to know, while everything is put into place, while the sensitization is put into place, remember to take it upon yourself as an individual, because at the end of the day, your life is your life. And, you know, if you get into an accident, the other person might walk away, you know, scot-free. They could pay, they could go to prison, they could be taken to prison, they could pay all the sums of money that they're asked to pay. But do you still have the life? Do you still have those limbs that you need so much for for locomotion? At the end of the day, what I'm talking about is take it upon yourself.
Yes.
Put all these measures into effect before anything, for yourself, your family, and your loved ones as well. Well, that winds up the conversation that we had for you here on Our Views. Do not go anywhere. Sunrise at Sea continues. Don't blink.
And as the saying goes, too much of anything is bad, and that is why we need to call it a wrap for the day. Of course, we will wish you a lovely day ahead, and also do not forget that you can catch these different segments as they will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, and that is at CTV Uganda. Otherwise, from the ladies and I and the team behind the scenes that you do not get to see, we wish you a lovely, lovely, beautiful Tuesday. Also, today is World Hugging Day. Give someone a hug. I'm going to start by hugging my co-hosts after this. See ya.